All right, first time using this new gear, so it's a good test of this. Osmo Pocket 3 with the mic. Hopefully this doesn't sound bad. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that gimbal holds. This is an interesting setup. I am a big fan of the Land Rover Defender, both new and old. I actually like the new one. I know that, oh, look at that, Land Rover right there. How about that? Very nice disco. I have wanted to own Land Rovers, which I know is a bad idea, some of you might say. There's still some Land Rovers I want. I had a chance to buy a Range Rover Classic, the Rare Hunter Edition, I think it was called, but I was too nervous about engine problems, so I bought my Montero, and look where we are today. Oh, how times have changed. Hold on, big bumps, and I'm just kind of nervous about this gimbal. I've never used it, but this could be better than GoPros. Back to Land Rovers. I like the Defender. I like the way they've evolved it. Would I take this or a G-Class? I really don't know. The G-Class is unbelievable, but the Land Rover Defender is more like my own personal aesthetic, even though the G-Class is so badass. I could go either way on a given day. But today we are driving the 130, which is the Defender I like the least, or I liked the least initially when I drive it. Still the dream one that I'd pick if I were buying a new Defender, or Defender 2, is the 110. The size works well. What they've done here on the Defender 130 that I'm driving right now, though, this is the Defender 130 Outbound. They've taken the 3-row, turned it back to a 2-row, given you more cargo space, and put actually good tires on it. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so let's back up. You have the Defender 90, 2-door, Defender 110, shorter wheelbase, 4-door, Defender 130, the honking 8-passenger, 3-row Defender with the thickness out back. It looks better in person than it does in photos and videos. The 130 droopy butt, it looks way better in person. I have driven these off-road, and I've never scraped the tail of one either. In the most recent version of Land Rover's Trek, which is their dealer-based competition, I have competed in the last 3 years of it in the media wave portion, and in the last 3 years, I've won. My team and I, we've won all 3 years, so, you know. But the most recent one, we did it in 130s, and we were like, oh, this is gonna be banging the butt on some of the off-road sections. Didn't touch once. And some of the Land Rover guys who, yes, I know they're paid to say like, oh, you know, this is our favorite one right now. And when I first heard that, I was like, really? But these are people who I actually trust and respect their opinions. I've come to know them over the last few years. They can do it all when it comes to off-road stuff. They know adventure. They really know their stuff. And they say that the 130 they like the most because just it's a stable platform. I would push them, and over a few beers, I could get the truth out of them, but they were telling the truth. They are happy to tell me when there are things they don't agree with, and they like to, you know, talk about the positives as well. So they like the 130. I was surprised to hear that. I drove it. I was impressed. But I don't need a 3-row vehicle. The 130 Outbound is kind of this pretty awesome sweet spot in the lineup, in that you get the longer wheelbase, which is great for highway, daily driving stuff. And then you get more cargo room because you got rid of that 3rd row. I'm glad they didn't call it the 120 and go the Mazda route with the CX-90 and CX-70. I'm just mostly happy to be driving a Defender that has actual all-terrain tires. I don't think they're the best all-terrain tires out there, but Land Rover probably wants a compromise between on-road and off-road ability. I get that. You know, these work fine for the average person. I would upgrade them, and to know that they fit around these 20-inch wheels is a nice thing. So the downsides with the 130 out, let's talk about positives, what you get with the 130 Outbound. You can get it with the Explorer pack or the Adventure pack. This one has that dumb side cargo box, which I would never get. It has the Whittle Ladder on the other side, which is kind of funny if you need to reach stuff, but it's got a full-size spare on the back. it's really about the all-terrains and then more room for your stuff. That's what the Outbound is all about, and I really appreciate that. They start at 84-ish. These are, I believe these are P400 only. You know, there's P300, P400, and now you can finally get 130s with the V8. The bummer that I was going to allude to is that you can't get this one with the V8, which is kind of lame, because a 130 with the V8, it really, you know, I'm glad they finally offer it in 24 for the 130s, because it was crazy they didn't launch with it, even though the P400 powertrain is a great one. This makes 395 horsepower. And even the P300 makes just under 300 horsepower, which is still a good number. But in this one, I mean, at least get, well, in the Outbound, you have to get it. But the P400 is kind of where it's at. The V8's really where it's at. But you got the good powertrain here in the Outbound. These start at 85. I'd have to guess, as equipped, this one is probably right at 100, because this is in that Carpathian gray paint, but it also gets the satin protective wrap, which I think that's great that they offer that, so you get the cool look, like a really nicely done satin finish, but it's not paint, it's a protective film, which is really cool. Though I read in the forum some of the Land Rover owners aren't totally in love with it, because it's a film applied to the factory, so they have to do it quickly and, you know, efficiently, so it doesn't cover inside the door handles, which some Land Rovers like, well, my rings will scratch there. It covers the most of the body, and it does a good job of making it look cool, frankly, with the satin finish. However, it is a $5,100 option, which is crazy. So you could probably get this done in the aftermarket for about the same price and get it to cover all the surfaces that you want it to cover. So, you know, there are things you don't need. You don't need to get the satin finish, but it's nice that it's a satin finish with protective film. That's why I like it. So, and if it equals about the same in the aftermarket, I'm curious if it's warranted. Like, if you start scratching it up, will Land Rover fix that? Can they replace certain sections? That's a good question that I have to ask them next time I see the Land Rover folks. Back to the Defender, though, I love driving these things. They're comfortable. Their on-road manners are just absolutely excellent. That's what you get in the G-Class and the Land Rover level of off-road vehicles. Yeah, the Bronco's actually really good too, but you know, this is more substantial of a vehicle. This is much more luxurious inside. Your Meridian sound system, comfortable seats. There's a cooled box here, which is an option. It just, the screen looks nice, wireless car. PV Pro has come a long way. I have no issues with it. It seems to be working fine, though I've just been using the CarPlay side of it. Connects quickly. There's a wireless charger right here. All of it adds up to a vehicle that I consider pretty sweet. This is a nice machine, and I just like the added utility of all that extra cargo room, because years ago I had a moment in the 90 where I was going to take it camping for the weekend, and I couldn't fit my stuff. I was gonna go camping with my wife and my daughter. We couldn't fit our stuff. We had to take the Montero. I was so annoyed because the rear packaging setup in the 90 is a joke. You can't fold the seats flat. There's a huge bar that runs across the bottom. It's terrible. The 110, it's fine. This 130 Outbound, it's excellent. There's acres of cargo space. And like I said, the extra wheelbase or body length, it looks way better in person, though it did look ridiculous because I took my mountain bike on this and I have a trailer mount for it. So it was the 130 plus the trailer hitch and my mountain bike on the back. It was like a school bus, basically. Since this is a Defender 130 and it's the Outbound, it also has terrain response too. You have the 4x4 TR info, which shows you where the power's going, what your center and your rear locking diffs are doing, what your suspension is doing. You can raise and lower. It also tells you altitude and stuff like that. There's a Wade sensor depth gauge. There's another screen that shows you the dimensions of your vehicle, which is really cool because, like, when you put it into the different suspension levels, you know, there's normal, there's a lower, access, there's off-road 1, off-road 2. It changes the height of the vehicle, and there's a display that you can be like, how tall am I right now? Minus, you know, if you add stuff to the roof, of course. I think that's a pretty neat little feature. Another nice feature is the 8-speed gearbox here. It just seems well suited to what we needed to do. You don't really need to be shifting it yourself, even though you can. I do like it. You just push it to the left and it goes into a sport setting, which is a little bit nicer than just the standard setting, especially on the road when you want a little more, power, or just to hold gears a little longer, but it never holds them, aggressively like a sports car. It's just a slight different tuning, and it's more to my liking, which is kind of nice. When you're in off-road 1, I believe you have a max speed of 51 miles per hour before to lower down. If you're in off-road 2, I think it's only like 19 miles an hour before it goes down. And I've read, and I was just curious, so I was poking my head in some Land Rover Defender forums, and people are like, how can you cheat that? I want to go faster. And they do make things to like make the truck think off-road 1 is normal, but that kind of kills the point. Once you're up that high, this thing is less maneuverable at higher speeds, or less balanced at higher speeds, and I wouldn't want to mess with that. I could understand getting a little bit more lift out of this for ground clearance and stuff like that, but if I'm in off-road 2, it's because I'm doing slow speed stuff. I don't want it like that, just cruising down the road. All right, let's get it set up so we can do this. So we will go put it into neutral and go over here. Let's do rock crawl. We will listen for the scraping, and then I'll do it a second time, and I'll put the camera out so we can see. Oh yeah, we are definitely in low range. Obviously, I want this to be in off-road 2. That's not cheating. I'm gonna put it in drive so it shifts, because in sport it was holding gears. So I'll just put it in sport. All right, this is really beaten up and tight. I should probably put on the cameras for this. Let's take a path to like give us the best chance. I didn't hear any scraping. Up there doesn't count. Stupid side box. That did that easy. Sorry, roof. Okay, that was easy. And I'm 99% sure it didn't scrape, but I'm gonna put a camera there just to see. So yeah, 130 Outbound, I think they're doing a good thing with this Defender. I would be shocked if like the next year there's not a Defender 130 Outbound V8. Maybe they're just trying to keep the price down, because the 130 V8s, again, not an Outbound, the 130 V8s, I think they start at like 116. So that's a huge jump, obviously, but you're getting, now that's close to 500 horsepower. I think it's like 490 something on that V8. It's not the big Mondo, like 550 horsepower V8, but still, that's a lot for a 130. That's great. And that V8 just sounds so good as well. And more power is always a wonderful thing.